1935. Son-mjong Muna is a 15-year-old boy living in a small town in the Hermit Kingdom of Korea. In the midst of the tribulation of an occupied land, many Korean families turn to God. One Easter Sunday, he has a spiritual encounter where Jesus asks him to work to unite Christianity and all religions, to build families and nations of true love, and to comfort the grieving heart of God. After graduating from school, he joined several churches and became a popular Sunday school teacher. But when he tried to share his extraordinary mission from God, no one believed him, and he was left alone. 1951. 10 years later, things are still not going according to plan. His country lies in ruins, ripped apart by foreign powers fighting the Cold War in Korea. Relentless bombing has destroyed 70% of this already poor nation's industry. Virtually the entire population are now refugees. The small community he established has been obliterated, and many of the members are scattered or presumed dead. His own family is scarred by the years of separation. He was a prisoner hundreds of miles away from home, surviving for 3 years in a concentration camp where 75% of the men died within months. After being released by the United Nations forces, he builds a shelter out of cardboard ration boxes on a lonely hill. When he preaches of a future when world leaders will come to Korea to learn the way of peace, even some of his friends think he might be crazy. Many men would have given up, but he didn't. Slowly and against all the odds, his following began to grow as word spread about the man teaching strange things in the small hut on the hill.
The place was built of mud and stone. The rain leaked through the roof. Then a young man came in. Christianity and all religions can be unified, he said. But I was suspicious.
At the end of the Korean War, the group moved to Seoul. When dozens of students from prestigious universities joined, the authorities were alarmed. Reverend Moon and others were charged with draft evasion. Newspapers speculated that he would receive a long sentence. But he was released when evidence proved that he had been in a North Korean prison at the time. This time, the press chose not to announce his innocence. After that, the group began to grow more quickly. In 1960, he married Hak Jahan, the young daughter of an early disciple. Teaching that God's ideal is realized through the family, he began to bless his followers in marriage amidst rumors, misunderstanding, and prejudice. The numbers of new couples grew quickly. The church rapidly spread to the major cities in Korea, and he would spend most of the year visiting members. In the summer, they would all go back to the countryside to help each other's families plant the rice. But he knew world peace could not come about by focusing only in Korea, and he started making plans to send missionaries to continue the work abroad. 1971. He came to America, answering a call to lead a moral and spiritual awakening. The Divine Principle, now published in English, allowed the movement and its message to spread around the world. His arrival energized the small group of followers who had been created by early missionaries. With the help of thousands of new volunteers, he began a nationwide campaign, the Day of Hope. Though at this time he spoke almost no English, with the help of an interpreter, he took his message to cities all across America, including Washington, D.C.'s Listener Auditorium. He invested far beyond the religious mission, promoting the unity of the sciences, the arts, including the need for responsible media, and much more.
I greatly appreciated Reverend Moon's deep concern for the present predicament of mankind. He says intellectuals have an urgent responsibility in the task of rebuilding society with values as the supreme guide.
He declared God's hope for America in front of 300,000 people at the Washington Monument. and created the Unification Theological Seminary as an interfaith center for peace. He would show the students how to deepen their experience with God while fishing or even while just mending nets. He started newspapers that exposed communism and secular humanism. Americans took notice.
Reverend Moon came to America to launch his ministry based on our most cherished values. Our religious institutions, regardless of denomination, must play a pivotal role in these tasks.
He never shied away from controversy, urging the country at the time of the Watergate crisis to heal its divisions and to forgive, love, and unite. Reverend Moon's bold intervention was not popular with everyone. Congressman Donald Fraser falsely accused members of the movement of working for the Korean CIA. Reverend Moon was confronted with the choice to either leave the country or face trial. He was sent to jail at age 64, unfairly accused of not paying just $7,000 in taxes, despite having invested tens of millions of dollars towards the spiritual and moral renewal of the USA. Tragically, that same year, the Moon's second son, Hongjin, was killed in a car accident. Many men would have given up, but he didn't. By the time he was released, the tide of public opinion had turned decisively in his favor. A U.S. senator concluded,
"Injustice, rather than justice, has been served in the case of Reverend Son-mjong Muna.
I know who the real Reverend Moon is. He is a man with an immense heart, a heart with room to love all human beings, a heart big enough to love sinners who injure him." Encouraged by the support of many Christian clergy, he renewed efforts to solve the conflict between communism and democracy. He sponsored fact-finding tours for Western journalists to visit the USSR and for Soviet journalists to visit the USA. 1990, he went to Moscow and began a friendship with Mikhail and Raisa Gorbachev. A year later, he returned to Pyongyang, North Korea, to meet Kim Il-sung, the man who had once tried to execute him. Later, the Little Angels dancers were to bring his message of peace and hope to Moscow and Pyongyang. He renewed his outreach to leaders of the world's faiths, urging them to join with him to end global conflict, and the intercultural marriage blessing ceremonies grew to include all people beyond race, religion, or nationality. In 1992, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon launched the Women's Federation for World Peace. The Women's Federation service projects are improving the lives of the world's children. 2000, he went to the UN declaring interfaith unity and God-centered family life as the only true basis for peace. He celebrated the blessing ceremony with spiritual leaders from many different religions. He called for a Middle East peace initiative and urged the children of Abraham to unite at last. Early results have been promising. He started building the Cheongpyeong village as a model community of peace with a hospital, schools, and a temple in the mountains. He also started an inter-religious peace sports festival to unite young people in peaceful competition. Concerned for the renewal of the UN, he launched the Universal Peace Federation in September 2005 in New York. Father and Mother Moon then launched a far-reaching tour of 100 cities in 100 days, announcing the vision of the coming Kingdom of Peace. People studied the peace message in more than 40 languages. They challenged everyone from young volunteers to the presidents of nations to help build a world of lasting peace.
Reverend Moon's call for peace through religion is something of great nuance and profundity. We are deeply fortunate for the chance to hear him and observe his lifelong struggle for world peace.
3 generations of his family answered the call, visiting a further 700 cities on subsequent peace tours. The Ambassadors for Peace took the peace message to more than 12,000 locations worldwide. 2006, the Cheonjong Peace Palace was opened in Korea. even after a long and tumultuous life, and despite all his accomplishments, Reverend Moon says he cannot rest. He continues to lead the movement he started all those years ago with unrelenting passion and commitment, determined to see the day when God himself will be liberated. Reverend and Mrs. Moon's family and the ambassadors for peace are pledging to carry on the work to create a peace UN, to create healthy families and build strong, loving communities, and to encourage faith leaders to end religious conflict and fight injustice together. Father and Mother Moon and their family believe a world of peace, a kingdom of God, can be built by 2013, but only with all of our help.